Recently, it feels like a classic horror movie is adapted for television every other day. But 30 years ago, the concept was a bit more novel. In 1995, almost 2 decades after The Omen first haunted our cinema screens, NBC commissioned a pilot that sought to bring that successful supernatural chiller directly into America's living rooms. The mid-90s was a curious time to attempt this, to say the least. The Omen franchise was in a strange place, long removed from its heyday, financially, critically, and in the pop culture. Indeed, there had not been a theatrical entry since 1981. I personally enjoy Omen 2 and 3 for what they are. They are a clear step down from the original, sure, but both feel like natural continuations and boast their fair share of fun kills. The second film benefits from Damien's coming of age running parallel with a coming to terms, realizing his place in humanity's dark future. The third film is elevated by the inspired casting of Sam Neill as the grown-up Antichrist, and, if nothing else, it provides a clear-cut ending to the saga. You could argue The Omen should have ended in that graveyard back in '76, but after the trilogy, that story was definitely put to bed. Jumping a decade ahead to 1991, longtime Omen producer Harvey Bernhard forced the franchise from its rest for a television movie, ironically titled Omen 4: The Awakening. I don't hate this film, but it's mostly a bland rehash of what we've seen before, and doesn't even satisfy on the death scene front, due to the greater censorships applied to television. Another devil child, another political intrigue plot to get the kid towards the White House. All it proved was you simply can't repeat what worked before. So, despite the critical battering this late sequel suffered, a TV series was still very much on the cards. But how do you create a sequel to The Omen that is worth its salt, and doesn't feel neutered by network restrictions? As Monty Python might suggest.
And now for something completely different.
The pilot begins by instantly vaunting its biggest name in the cast, William Sadler. He plays Dr. Linus, an epidemiologist who is really putting the pedal to the metal. Dashing through the gloomy Wyoming countryside, he's hot on the trail of a missing friend. His search brings him to a local who may be able to assist, but it also brings him to an ominous missile silo. It's purposefully sealed up, yet there are some banging noises emitting from within. Banging. Admittedly, my interest was already piqued. What is inside? Is it the Doctor's friend? Short answer, yes. Slightly longer, spookier answer, it's the hanging, bleeding-eyed corpse of his friend, which unexpectedly reanimates and releases a violent, streamlined entity. The flowing evil worms its way into the local, who becomes possessed, and eerily exits the scene following some unidentified higher purpose. Given Linus's scientific field, he returns home and conveniently teaches a lecture on the type of parasites that influence its host actions, manipulating them to put themselves in danger to further spread the parasite. A question is posited. Is the parasite evil, or is it just trying to survive like the rest of us? A good thematic setup to have been explored in the would-be series to come, but yes, writing-wise, it's a bit blunt, as the possessed man, acting as host to this unknown force, enters the city to spread into body after body. Relatably, it seems happier to settle down inside a pretty nurse, played by Chelsea Field, perhaps best remembered as Teela from the He-Man movie. Meanwhile, there is another central protagonist named Jack Mann. He's betrayed by Brett Cullen, meaning, weirdly enough, both heroes of the pilot starred in Season 1 of Tales from the Crypt. Jack Mann is a journalist, man. Hints of a difficult past are alluded to, in the way he obsessively pores over certain cases, abnormal events that share certain details. Who would have guessed it? It is later revealed that his wife and baby were murdered in mysterious circumstances. And yes, you guessed it again, the same evil force was responsible, and he's been trying to investigate it ever since. the characters and plotlines converge at the hospital, where the infected nurse resides in quarantine. While everybody tries to figure out both what the hell is happening and how to resolve the situation, various factions emerge. An old man is a so-called hunter, the last of a long line of people devoted to defeating the parasitic menace. It also turns out one of the hospital workers is also in on the dark scheme, trying to prevent the protagonist's efforts. To make matters worse, the US Army has been toying with flesh-eating bacteria, yay, which is also at the hospital, that the antagonist wants to release during a St. Patrick's Day parade. Is this all just a metaphor for the destructive properties of Guinness? You decide. To cut a 45-minute episode short, the nurse is rescued from the parasite, but retains a psychological connection to it. Therefore, she can help the heroes track down the new host body and prevent the biological warfare from spoiling everyone's day drinking. The day is saved, but the beast escapes, so the trio replace the old man as the new hunters. You may be wondering, what in the name of Damien does this have to do with the Omen? Beyond the title, the proposed affiliation during production, and the initial executive producing role from Richard Donner, basically nothing. Oh, sorry, that's not true. Sadler does say the word omen at one point.
The old man said the fumes were an omen.
No. No Antichrist children, no overt political plotline, no freak of nature accidents, not even the iconic Jerry Goldsmith score that the other associated media always deployed as a secret weapon at pivotal moments. The very literal and visual supernatural evil flying around is a direct contradiction of Donner's strong feelings for the original. He believed the incidents should always have a grounding in reality, explainable through some logic to give the skeptical characters even more doubt. Even when the elements sort of fit that universe, like the hunter recalling Father Brennan's character, or the hospital worker acting as a disguised conspiracist, a trope that occurs constantly in the movies, the entire atmosphere feels at odds with the source material. Instead, the more sci-fi thriller angle feels much more akin to The X-Files, which at that time was dominating the landscape of TV. It's also just a bit half-baked. Some setups are clunky, and characters seem to know stuff they shouldn't. My favourite bit is when the protagonist tosses the villain onto the subway lines, electrocuting him to death, in front of a hefty St. Patrick's Day crowd. Nobody gives a damn. He just killed a man! As an Omen fan, it's not really worth a watch, but if you're into 90s TV, give it a go. It's not going to eat too much of your time. And honestly, there is good content in there. The initial silo scene and city rampage are both well done, and the stakes in the climax are sufficiently exciting. The possessed nurse taunts the journalist about how it killed his family, which is a fantastic moment, yet feels infinitely more Exorcist than Omen.
I saw your baby. You would love that little girl, Jack. She looked just like your wife. Same pretty eyes.
The dialogue is a bit dodgy here and there.
You guys get me away from this hospital. This place gives me the creeps.
But over time, I could see these characters being a good fit. And the plot has enough meat to develop further. To use a more modern example, I can envision it working very much like the HBO adaptation of Stephen King's The Outsider, which incidentally is also nothing at all like The Omen. And therein lies the pilot's biggest crime. It's okay, a bit stock, a bit standard, but marketing it as part of the Omen franchise sets up specific expectations. When those aren't met, it feels even more lackluster. If you go to a cafe and order a BLT, and they bring you a tuna mayo sub with a single bacon lardon stuffed in there, yes, it might be tasty, but it's not what you ordered. Naturally, you're disappointed. The pilot was rejected. Donner removed his name from the credits, and it was treated to a single broadcast in 1995, before being shunned forever, presumably locked away inside a haunted missile silo. Luckily, some people had the cunning foresight to record it on tape, allowing it to live on for curiosity's sake. The Omen would receive another shot at a television career 2 decades later. Damien, from 2016, at least integrated itself into the existing series, but was also cancelled after a single season. Perhaps this is all an omen, telling us that the franchise only belongs on the big screen.